Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Off the Bench. We have a special treat for you today. We're going to get right into it. NBA Finals time, 2017 NBA Finals. Cleveland, the defending champions. Golden State, the best regular season team for the last 3 years. They're clashing once again. We've already had game one. We have game two coming up tomorrow, which is Sunday evening. Let me introduce my partners in crime. Sean Dustin, the always intelligent and brilliant man, as well as Javone Tavares, the distinguished, equally as brilliant, equally as intelligent. Fellas, what's going on?
Blessed. What's up?
All right. So, yeah, we got the matchup that we wanted. So, let's get this out of the way. Golden State, very impressive in game one. Kevin Durant, 38, 8 and 8. Steph Curry added 28 points. I think he was around 7 or 8 assists as well. They take game one in impressive fashion. Before we go any further, I want to get your picks on record before the series started. Okay? We'll start off, I think it's only right, we start off with the defending champions. So Sean Dustin, you're going to kind of cover that from a Cavs perspective. Give us what your pick was before the series started.
Cavs in 7. I felt that despite kind of sputtering in to the playoffs, once they had an opportunity to practice and get adequate rest and get everybody healthy, that they were able to really focus in on a game plan for each person that they were going into and have some strategic possible advantage in addition to the level of talent having kind of underwhelmed going into the playoffs, that we'd see a different switch, which we did. And, critics may say that that's attributable to the level of competition or the brilliance or those two things compounding each other in the Eastern Conference, in the allegedly weaker Eastern Conference. So, yes, I had Cavs in 7. I not only said that in the past, but I do stand by that now, despite the wipeout in game one.
Javon, what'd you have before the series started?
I had Warriors in 6 games. Warriors in 6. Sometimes there's a non-competitive 6 games, and sometimes there's a competitive 6 games that could really wind up being a 7-game series. So I was bordering on picking a competitive 6-game series, and I'm still going to stick with that. I think Cleveland is going to acquit themselves well in game 2. And again, my X factor has always been when you have the best player in the world, and LeBron James, and I know there's some of you that may be quick to knock him from atop his perch or knock him from atop the throne, but the bottom line is this: LeBron James is still the best player in the world. I think Kevin Durant made a case that he's coming for the crown, but LeBron and the Cavs will acquit themselves well in game 2. I'm not saying they're going to win game 2, but it'll be a lot more competitive, and I'm still sticking with the Warriors in a competitive 6 games.
I went with Warriors in 7 and winning game 7 by a score of 94-90. I will say this.
That's an approximation.
Yes. I made a pick, and then I watched tape of game 6 from last year and game 7 from last year, and I wanted to change my pick to Cavs in 6. And then what I did was I watched just highlights, just some tape of Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals last year, and then Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, because I wanted to just concentrate on Durant.
Yes.
So after I did that, I said, you know what, I think it's going to be Cavs in 6, because I don't know if KD is going to show up under pressure. But I did not change the pick. I said I'm going to keep Warriors in 7 with a score of 94-90 in Game 7. Javon, after Game 1, is there anything that changes as far as your pick concerned? Let me start. I'll say this. After watching Game 1, I said I still think it'll get to a Game 7, but I could foresee a Game 7 similar to Game 1 where the Warriors got away from the Cavs at some point in the game to win the title. I will say that much. After Game 1, Javone, is there anything that you see that you want to speed up your pick, maybe in 5, or you're still sticking with in 6?
I'm still sticking with the Warriors in 6.
Okay.
We all witnessed what happened last year with the Cleveland Cavaliers making NBA history by being the first team to come back down from a 3-1 deficit. And as I mentioned in my prior point, they have LeBron James. LeBron James is the X factor that you just can't account for. But the reason why I'm going to stick with my Warriors pick is because, one thing, last year, the Cavaliers got down 3-1. Obviously, they were having some difficulties with the Warriors. And then there were some things that transpired. The Draymond Green situation. Cleveland started to find their way. LeBron and Kyrie, they put on their superhero capes. And they carried that team to a championship. The main difference this year is Kevin Durant, plain and simple. You saw that in Game 1. Kevin Durant, and a lot of people were critical of the Cavs defense because you had defenders running to the shooters to run them off the 3-point line every time Cleveland or every time Golden State got out in transition. So the difference between this year and last year is that would have worked last year. If you would have ran to Klay and you would have ran to Steph and prevent them from getting those transition threes, which would ignite the crowd and give them momentum, that would have worked last year. This year, you've got Kevin Durant who has the ball in his hands. He can get from half court to the basket in 2 or 3 steps, and he can finish. So now the Cavaliers are going to need to make that adjustment in transition. Now they're going to have to account for KD, who could potentially have the ball in his hands. And what I think they're going to do is I think they're going to make a choice to leave someone, and that someone is going to be Klay Thompson, who isn't shooting the ball well right now. So I think that's an adjustment that Cleveland makes. But again, I'm not going to be fooled into thinking that this is going to be an easy series for the Warriors. Last year, if you remember, games 1 and 2 were blowouts by the Warriors. They looked to have things in hand. But ultimately, the difference between last year and this year is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is one of the greatest scorers that we've seen in this game. He shows you in Game 1 that he has the defensive length to give LeBron some problems at times. And so, I'm going to stick with the Warriors in 6 games with KD being an X factor.
Sean, in Game 2, give me one adjustment that you want to see the Cavs make that's going to give them a better opportunity. Or is there an adjustment at all? Do you just think they just flat out need to play better?
Sorry, fellas, I think we're experiencing a little bit of technical difficulty on my end.
Right.
I believe the question was if there's one adjustment that the Cavaliers can make in Game 2 that is going to be significant for or key to them in being competitive or winning, what that adjustment would be. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
I feel one of the main things they have to do is get Kevin Love involved. I think primarily in last game, you saw Kevin Love featured as a perimeter shooter. There was a couple of screens that he came off of, that he knocked down some shots. I really didn't feel that he was aggressive enough or aggressive that he should have been when there was mismatches that were presenting themselves. There was a number of times that he found himself on Klay Thompson. To me, what I perceive as a mismatch as far as size and ability in the post, and he didn't punish Kevin Love. Kevin Love didn't punish Klay Thompson for the mismatch in size or ability down low. I think Kevin Love could have at least drawn fouls there. And I think whenever you have quote unquote a mouse in the house, you have to exploit that. Part of the Cavs being dominant in this postseason thus far and last year as he got more comfortable in the offense was in really beginning to feature him in different offensive sets and different rotations in a lineup. That combined, I guess the post is what I'm trying to say. Because Tristan Thompson was very ineffective in 23 minutes as well. He obviously wasn't able to assert himself. They made sure that they had multiple bodies on him as soon as the ball went in the air, as to keep him off the glass. Although he did draw a couple of defensive fouls that gave the Cavaliers extra possessions. Really, you look at Golden State, I think, having between 19 and 20 some odd more possessions. And when you have a high firepower team like that, when you're turning over the ball at a high clip, credit to their defense. These weren't just mistakes on the offensive end. These were forced turnovers with the Golden State's intensity pushing them off their spots, not allowing them to feel comfortable dribbling, passing, or doing anything regular, let alone making superstar plays. It really was very evident that the level of intensity, the difference, and Kevin Durant was easily the best player on the floor for either team. It wasn't just a result of shoddy defense. Kevin Durant, the gait that he takes, the amount of space he can cover in one or two steps, and his God-given and crafted scoring ability is uncanny. He's always been one of the top 2 or 3 players in the league, year in, year out. And so I think if there's one big thing that they could do, it's to get Kevin Love involved, because in their initial starting lineup, they use him as a 4 spacer. They have those other guys there that can drive the basket because he spaces the floor. And then when they change lineups and they bring other players off the bench, they feature Love in the post. And you're going to have to take advantage of those mismatches when they do those 1-4 pick and rolls, those 3-4 pick and rolls with LeBron and Kevin Love. He's really going to have to be assertive and attack, and not be passive and just let the game come to him.
You guys are going to be surprised, but I did not have a huge problem with Cleveland's half-court defense. It was the transition defense. Golden State shot 44% in Game 1. Last year in all 7 games, Golden State shot 33%. They only shot 1% better. That's because Cleveland is solid in their half-court defense. It's transition that they're having the problem. Now, and I feel Cleveland is going to be able to hold Golden State to a lower percentage. Golden State shoots 50%. In Game 1, they shot 44%. I think Cleveland can still hold them to that percentage in the half court, though, which means their offense is going to have to help them. Okay? What I want to see Cleveland do, what they did in 2015 in the first 2 games, they featured LeBron in the post. They went to him on the block. They're going to have to go to him or Kevin Love on the block. That's the only way you can try to control tempo. Cleveland, you're not going to be able to run up and down with these guys. Even when you get a rebound, like Kyrie Irving got a rebound the other night, he takes it down and shoots a pull-up jumper from the elbow. That's a horrific shot in that type of game, because the game was going just like this. What I would like to see them do, you get a rebound, run it up to the half court, okay, wait, let me get somebody down in the block, and let me go down to the box. I would love to see them do that more in Game 2. They're going to have to try, yeah.
To your credit and to what you're saying, let me just credit Golden State's defense. You know, I'm on record, obviously, I'm a LeBron fan, and I have the Cavs, not just because of LeBron, but because I like a lot of the matchups. Let me credit Golden State, though. Their defense, when they're coming down in those half-court sets, Kevin Love was never able to get deep post position in transition, where he's trying to dive down to the basket, get somebody, pin them on his back. LeBron James, let's give Draymond Green some credit. He's not going to be a guy that's just going to be pushed around. And Kevin Durant, although physically is slight of build, he knows how to use his body, he knows how to use his length, and he's a very intelligent defender. So I want to credit Golden State, while also saying the Cavs need to make a more concerted effort, that they still have mismatches in those areas, but the level of intensity, that the way that Golden State was prepared, for the way that LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers like to run their offense, it was not only well designed, it was extremely well executed.
That's correct. But a way to counteract that, if you want to get the ball in the post, you start from the opposite side of the court and then you swing it around to the box. And that's what they're going to have to do to be able to get, because yeah, you're right, Golden State, as far as intensity wise, defensively is crazy. But the way you ease up on that is you have Kyrie bring it from one side of the court and then you swing it all the way around, and then you can, you reverse the ball, and then I think they can get those feeds inside, and then LeBron is good enough to be okay, I'll wait, is the double going to come? Nope, okay, I'm going to go up. Most likely KD's going to be guarding me. I don't think he can guard him down in the post, and then that's where you try to make your moves. In 2015, they had a lot of success with that. I'd like to see them try that. Might not work, but that's one adjustment I'd like to see done for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Now, Kev, to another point, something that we might want to think about is that I agree, Cleveland is going to have to control the tempo, and they're going to have to limit the amount of transition points. And one of the ways you do that is by controlling the tempo. But having 20 turnovers in a game is not going to help that cause, because turnovers lead to transition baskets, right? I mean, if it's a dead ball turnover, it's a travel or something like that, then obviously it's more difficult for the Warriors to get in transition that way. But when you have passes that are errant, that get picked off, and now you have KD running the break, now you have Steph Curry running the break, and these guys are flailing to the three-point line, because we all know at the Oracle, they love to see those threes get put up, and they love to see those threes go down. It's like a different level of energy that the fans get when watching those threes go up. In order for Cleveland to be effective with what you're saying, they're going to have to limit the turnovers.
Yes.
You cannot beat a team this caliber by having 20 turnovers. And that's something that Ty Lue admitted. That's something that LeBron James admitted. So I think you have a great point. That is one of the ways that you control the tempo. If they can limit the turnovers, then they can do exactly what you're suggesting.
Javon, let's follow up with you. Warriors shot 44% in game one, even though they did score 113. I thought that the Cavs' half-court defense was solid. Let me ask you this. Can Golden State win this series with Klay Thompson scoring 5 points a game?
That's a really good question. They've already proven that they could win game one without much of an offensive contribution from Klay Thompson. But again, we know the adjustments are going to be coming in game two. At some point, Klay Thompson is going to have a decent shooting game. But the thing you have to respect Klay Thompson is that offensively, he's been terrible. I mean, let's not act absolutely atrocious. But defensively, people shot 1 of 12. Cavalier guys shot 1 of 12 when Klay was guarding them directly, and that includes Kevin Love. So he's making an impact on the defensive end. But to answer your question straight up, I do not think the Warriors can win the series if they don't get more of a contribution from Klay Thompson. Because again, we know Ty Lue and LeBron and these guys are going to make adjustments. You're not going to be able to see KD waltzing down a wide open lane that's been, split like when Moses split the Red Sea. You're not going to see that in game 2 or game 3. They're going to make a concerted effort to track where LeBron or track where KD is in transition, as well as Steph Curry. And like I said, look for the Cavs. If they're going to choose to leave somebody open, they're going to leave Draymond open out there, and they're going to leave Klay open. At this point, Ty Lue says, Klay, you've struggled throughout the entire 2017 playoffs.
Right.
Prove to us that you can beat us. And if Klay can't knock down those shots, that could be problematic. So, again, to answer your question, I don't think that the Warriors can win getting that type of, lack of production from Klay Thompson.
Sean, give me one player on Cleveland we're not talking about that could possibly flip the series. An unsung hero, a guy that's got to come up big in the next 6 games for Cleveland to win. Give me one guy.
Okay, let me first address what Javon just said.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the opposite side of that and say they absolutely can win with Klay Thompson scoring 5 points in a series. Then this is why. Klay Thompson's production offensively is just one of his attributes. I think he is their best on-ball defender, including Andre Iguodala. I think if the way that he contributes defensively, guarding Kyrie Irving, even though Kyrie Irving made some great shots and he's an unstoppable offensive player, he really does a great job of switching on the perimeter, bodying up even bigger guys, having the lateral foot movement to stay in front of smaller guys. His length and size bothers people. He doesn't fall for seductive pump fakes, and he doesn't get in foul trouble. Also, because of his record of prolific shooting, even in the event that he stays cold, you still have to account for him. No one is going to expect him to shoot that bad for an entire series. So that's why some of these plays that looked admittingly bad for Cleveland in transition were more of a credit that those shots in transition with Klay or Steph on the three-point line, they consider as high of a percentage shot for them as they do someone coming directly at them for a slam dunk. If not worse, they're backbreakers.
Right.
And so those guys will pull those up in transition with people on them, let alone you let them retreat out to the three-point line and you have someone going straight forward and you're expecting a rotation. So the way that their offense is built, you'll get contributions from Draymond Green if he needs to step up. The amount of firepower that you have in a Durant and a Curry can be insurmountable if it was just those two players on the team. This is not Westbrook and Durant. This is Curry and Durant. And no disrespect to Westbrook, but the range that Curry can shoot within is as soon as he comes over half court. And you have to account for the deep threat way more than you have to account for a Russell Westbrook coming downhill and maybe at 28, 30, low 30s% pulling up with that shot. Their offense is so prolific that everybody doesn't have to be on. Really have to be on. And the way they move the ball and the quality of shots they give people, they could have won that game by 40 points the other day had Trulia not turned down easy dunks early in the game. Had they converted on layups in transition or point blank layups, the quality of shots that they get is as big as who they get them from. And I'm sorry. So what was the question one more time, Kevin?
From Cleveland's standpoint, I need one guy.
Okay.
None of the obvious guys, but somebody that's got to come up big to be able to turn this series.
Let's say I'm going to go Kyle Korver.
Okay.
And I don't mean in the necessarily having to have a 15-17 consistently, but you can't go 0 for 4. We brought you here because you can shoot, because you're a sniper. You have to have contributions from that second unit. If J.R. Smith is already an erratic shooter, but when he's hot, he's hot. Shumpert already more of a streaky type of shooter, but not someone that you can count on to consistently knock down shots. Kyle Korver, not only because he's a historically prolific and high percentage three-point shooter, but since he's come to the team, he's been a huge contributor, and on nights that other guys have not been able to knock down shots, you do get a game every once in a while. There's going to be a game in the series where he has to have 17 or 15 or something like that off the bench to where they have to respect it, to where there's a second pass for a better shot happens. Kyle Korver has to be a contributor in the series.
Sean, you and I have been talking about and lauding Cleveland's bench, and they gave absolutely zilch in game 1. Gave them absolutely nothing. The player for me, for Cleveland, that's got to do something and flip the series is J.R. Smith. He hit the first 3 of the bowl game. He opened up the game with a 3, and we got absolutely nothing out of him after that. He's got to do something. He's got to be able to knock down shots. He's going to get the open looks in the starting lineup. It's going to be J.R. Smith. And then off the bench, it's going to be Iman Shumpert that's going to get those open looks, especially if Cleveland plays from the post a little bit more. I think Golden State will eventually come with a double if they're effective, and the guys that are going to be open are J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert. So I got to get something from J.R. Smith. If all he's going to give you is 3 points and lackluster defense, because he was awful defensively in Game 1 as well. Normally, he's on point with his assignments defensively, but he was nowhere to be found in Game 1. So, got to get something out of J.R. Smith.
I liked his half-court on-ball defense on Klay Thompson.
Okay.
His transition defense was horrible,
yeah,
but I liked his on-ball in offense in the rare times that Golden State actually had to run an offensive set in Game 1. I liked his on-ball defense.